the streets of Washington, D.C., the halls of Capitol Hill. This is the latest battleground for right to repair. Right to repair is an industry issue that's as big as the Beatles in the mid-60s or Taylor Swift right now. It has the power to change the automotive aftermarket for generations to come. And one congresswoman at the forefront of the right to repair fight is Representative Marie Gluesenkamp Pérez. Marie is a Democrat representing Washington's 3rd District and co-owner of Dean's Car Care with her husband in Portland, Oregon. She knows the pain points of running a successful auto repair business. That's why, after being elected to her seat this year, she joined GOP Representative Neil Dunn of Florida and 2 other lawmakers in introducing the Repair Act. This bill would require automakers to share the data, tools, and instructions needed to repair their vehicles, giving access of that data to the consumer and the independent aftermarket nationwide.
I think Repair Act is important because, okay, so like dialing it back a little bit, like I think that you need the full spectrum. Like our industry, the automotive industry, is an ecosystem. Like consumers are going to turn away from owning their personal vehicles if we don't make it affordable and durable. So you need the aftermarket side if you want the dealership side to prosper. I think that more and more manufacturers are sort of moving towards disposable cars. Like I think it's really a short-sighted. You really need like a 14-year-old taking apart a lawnmower if you want to have a technician in their 20s. You know, that is the life cycle of a mechanic. And as we box more and more people out of accessing and being able to work on their own cars, you are cutting that life cycle off at the knees. This is about the long-term health, because in 20 years, our shop is going to start seeing those vehicles that we will be locked out of. And so it's like, this is about having generational engagement. I'm really uncomfortable using a technology I can't fix or maintain myself. Like, I don't want to be in a world where everything is a black box and I'm just a consumer. Like, I want to be able to take care of things myself. And I think that's the American ethos. And that's what's so destructive about manufacturers blocking us out of the life cycle of goods. Like, it's terrible for our culture. It's terrible for the long-term health of our industry. And it's also terrible for the environment.
So how did we get to needing a right to repair mandate in the first place? Well, it dates back years, but we'll start in 2012 with the first successful implementation of a right to repair law in Massachusetts. This required OEMs to sell the same service materials and diagnostics directly to consumers or to independent technicians. It was followed up by a Memorandum of Understanding in 2014, which multiple industry associations advocated for and signed. In the MOU, car companies agreed to abide nationwide with the requirements of the Massachusetts right to repair law. But fast forward to today, and not all automakers have complied with this. This led to a second right to repair law in the form of a ballot referendum, which was overwhelmingly passed by Massachusetts voters in 2020. This most recent right to repair law gives repairers and consumers access to a vehicle's telematics data, which was not included in that original agreement. However, the 2020 Massachusetts law has been held up in courts, leaving the aftermarket to take federal action so that independent automotive repair businesses can continue to thrive for generations to come. This also allows more options for affordability when consumers look to repair their vehicles.
Consumers are just being nickeled and dimed, and there's gonna be a breaking point. And so I just think it's really short-sighted to not, to have cut off, independent shops from the equation.
What, in your opinion, will it take to get this piece of legislation passed this legislative session?
Most of my colleagues here do not understand the life cycle. Like, they are just, like, we do not have a lot of folks here who have, in my opinion, worked for a living, and so I think we need to, build a Congress that looks like America, not just doctors and lawyers and people with trust funds. No hate on them, we need them all, but we need more people who have tried to run a small business, who, I've never bought a new car in my life. A lot of people are like me,
Mm-hmm.
and so building a Congress that's more representative, and educating the people that are in Congress now. Like, what does it mean to, like, what are the bigger cultural implications of not acting on this? How it impacts constituents. So we need more co-sponsors, you know, we need more people who see the value of this. And we need more, people seeing this as something that is worth fighting for.
In a next step for the Repair Act, a group part of the House Energy and Commerce Committee held a hearing on the bill on September 27th this year. This happened just days after the Auto Care Association's Leadership Days and Legislative Summit, in which members of the association met with congressional representatives on Capitol Hill. At the hearing, more than a dozen members of Congress inquired about the legislation. It marked one of the first times the Repair Act was highlighted in the legislative process. Where it goes from here is yet to be seen, but Marie says that sparking change on the federal level will come when each of us in the automotive aftermarket takes action.
This has got to be a grassroots issue. This has got to be something that, you know, our industry is elevating and like talking about and talking to their legislators about.
For sure.
That's the critical thing, because, you know, you don't ask, you don't get. That's how this town seems to work. It's not about what's right, it's about who's out there. And so we need more normal people showing up and advocating, you know. It does also go back to the cultural values of, like, we need to be proud that we're driving a 40-year-old car and that we have the skills to keep it running.